Hi everyone, Jedediah Thomas, the Mind Master here. So today I wanted to talk about fairly common modality, and at least in some circles, a lot of people are familiar with it or people who use it, and how it compares to one of my methodologies. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. So the modality that I'm talking about specifically is NLP, also called neuro-linguistic programming. And it was developed, a book, a couple guys co-authored it, Richard Bantler and Grinder. I don't know what his first name is, but basically it's a way to reprogram your associations, right? And Tony Robbins actually kind of learned from them, and then he kind of created basically the same method, but he kind of called it a different name to get around that, which is neuroassociative conditioning. And you can really see that it is based on associations. So what it is basically like adding a bypass, a logical bypass to a problem, right? So you're, say, like afraid of snakes, and then you add in some proxy, right? And some way to kind of get around your fear of snakes by associating it with a new thing, right? So the benefits of it is it does give you an external result fairly quickly. I know Tony Robbins usually does like seminars where he'll change people and supposedly fix phobias and whatnot, with a live audience there. The issue is that because it's a bypass, it doesn't actually fix the problem, right? It fixes the external manifestation of the problem. So the symptoms go away, the emotion goes away, but the problem is still inside your mind. Now, for a lot of people, that's not really that big of a deal because their lives are mundane. There's not a lot of things going on, so there's less chance of more trauma, more beliefs being piled on top of that. And then they go through the rest of their lives and they're basically fine. The issue is when you don't have a mundane life, you actively encounter situations that could be traumatic, could be developing limiting beliefs. That problem that you've bypassed is still sitting there, and it's still running up your bandwidth even though you don't know that it's there. And then if you keep piling on more problems, then eventually your mind starts to fall apart, right? It hits critical mass, and instantaneously you basically go from fine to crisis mode, and your whole mind unravels. You might become suicidal, you might have a lot of other issues going on. It's because you're stacking on problems, and your mind can only take a certain amount of problems before it falls apart. So, very specifically, the methodology that I use, that I developed, that is most similar to what NLP does in terms of outcome as opposed to input, is what I call belief shifting. So I actually have a diagram here of the difference. So NLP, it's really really good for persuasion. Like a lot of top sales gurus use it. It's great for giving someone a different perspective. It's giving them a different frame of reference for how they perceive something, which is really good to sell them, to convince them, to persuade them. But as I've been saying, it doesn't actually change anything, right? So you have your code here, and you can pause it if you don't believe me, but these are the same codes on the top, right? And then so NLP does is it leaves the bad code there, right? So let's say your fear of snakes is somewhere like over here, right? In between, let me see, in between here and here is your fear of snakes. And what NLP does is it creates a different frame and takes your focus away from that fear of snakes. So the code is still there. You've just kind of, you're not, your mind is no longer looking at that code as directly. So the bad code has not changed, and now you have a different perspective. Now you think you don't have a fear of snakes even though you still have a fear of snakes, right? So what they would call that is changing the frame, right? Changing your perspective of how you view reality, right? Your perception of reality. What I do, by contrast, is actually fundamentally change the code, right? I don't just leave the code there and let you think about the code in a different way. I actually change the binary digits of your code on your fundamental operating system, and that actually completely instantaneously removes your fear of snakes. Not hiding it, not putting it off to the side and then looking a different direction, actually completely dissolved. And then all of the symptoms, all the emotions, all the problems that were based on that belief, that digit, are now gone, right? So it really depends on what you're looking for in terms of what you decide to go with. Like I said, NLP is great for persuasion, right? Like a lot of the sales processes that I've studied, in my career as a salesperson, as a sales coach, were based either partly or very much on NLP, right? Very, very effective tool for persuasion. But you can actually look at, one of my previous videos on here about, there was an NLP coach, right? He's a guru, and I just posted something about, why not, instead of using NLP, why not use something that works? And you can see how damaged, how corrupt this guy still is, despite you know, him supposedly having fixed himself, and he's like a major NLP practitioner. So I would say, in a therapeutic context, in NLP is at best a band-aid solution, if not outright dangerous, because it makes you think that you're fixed when you're not fixed, right? Now, so persuasion is good, therapy is questionable. One advantage of NLP is, if you don't have a lot of problems and you just have like one external outcome that you need change, and you're okay to just bury the problem, it could give you a fast result. But if you have a lot of problems, your ability to bury it becomes very limited very quickly. Like, it's going to come back to bite you sooner or later, and you can't really just keep burying all of your problems. You've got to actually start changing the problems and getting rid of them, and completely resolving that 100% by changing the code, right? So I'll probably make another video about like what I do versus hypnosis, because it's hypnosis does kind of operate on this level as well, but it works in a different way than either of these as well. So I'll talk about that at another point. So this is just to kind of make you aware of some other stuff that's out there. Like, I'm not speaking bad about Tony Robbins. I'm not speaking bad about the NLP guys. They've helped a lot of people, but my goal is to educate you on what's actually going on in the mind, why it sometimes works, why it doesn't always work, why you might relapse and go back into issues, because you're all you're working on is your perception, right? And it doesn't actually change anything deeper than that. And I go in and actually change the actual code. So you're not just looking at the code differently, the code is actually fundamentally different. If you have any questions on that or anything, let me know. I mean, I don't know how much I could say about this, because I basically covered everything. But if you have specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And be sure to like and subscribe. I now have a free Facebook mind group, so that will be in the description if you want to learn more about the mind or possibly working with me. Don't look for my Facebook profile, look for my Facebook group, and it's linked in the description. And if you found this valuable, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Thanks. Bye.